I have some breaking news coming out of Washington, D.C. While President Trump is down in Florida putting alligators in alligator Alcatraz, Vice President J.D. Vance has cast the tie-breaking vote to pass Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill. We're going to talk about that. Elon Musk rebels. Trump and Musk are fighting again. There's a huge bill that Trump just endorsed, which I'm excited about. To help me go through all this, I have Libby Emmons. Libby, thank you for joining me again.
Sure thing, Steve. I'm glad to be here.
So lots going on. I know you're the chief editor over at Post Millennial. Are you guys struggling to keep up with how much information comes out on a daily basis?
You know, I have a really amazing staff, so they're always on top of everything. It is not easy. It is sometimes like a mudslide, but we have surfboards, so we kind of coast on top of it.
Well, this is just coming out right as you and I are getting out. The big beautiful bill passes in the Senate 51-50 with Vice President J.D. Vance breaking the tie. This has been a hotly debated bill because it's a bill where you can't just stuff everything in, and a lot of people they're mad that on the one hand, Democrats have been saying there's no illegals in Social Security, there's no illegals in Medicare and Medicaid. Then it turns out there's 1.4 million. What do? They fight to keep them in against what's best for the American people. What are your thoughts on J.D. Vance and this bill getting passed today?
Well, this bill has been a staple of Trump's plan for the country, right? Since he came into office, he's been fighting for this. He didn't want it to be in two bills. He wanted it to be in one bill. The Congress, the House even named it the One Big Beautiful Bill, you know, taking up Trump's language. And so we had Vance in there breaking the tie. They read the bill over the weekend. I don't know if you saw this. Democrats on Saturday said, we're going to read the bill out loud. It took something like 16 hours. I didn't listen to the whole read through, so I still don't know exactly everything that is in it. But I do know that it has a lot of provisions for border security and other aspects of plans to, you know, tighten security up and keep the country moving along according to the Trump administration's plans and not the Biden administration's plan. So that is a big deal. And of course, with every bill, especially one that is, how many pages is this? Like 962 pages, something like that.
Yeah.
It's going to have a lot of stuff in it that not everybody agrees with, because not everybody is going to agree with all 962 pages. It's going to have pork in it. It's going to have, you know, things that some people like and other people don't like. Already, it looks like it's costing two senators their seats. Thomas Massey is going to get primaried now by a super PAC put together by Donald Trump's associates, and Tom Tillis said that he wasn't going to run for re-election. So we know that it's been very contentious, but it's time to not do business as usual anymore. Things have to get tightened up, and they have to get tightened up fast. We have the midterms really soon around the corner in 2026, and if the Trump agenda doesn't go through now, it's not going to go through at all. The thing about illegal immigrants on Medicaid, and this is something that this is hard, right? Because Americans have a lot of empathy, and we say what we have, our prosperity, we want to share it with everyone. But there has been too much advantage taken, both in terms of, Medicaid and health coverage and things like that, but also in terms of like motor voter and other kinds of programs where illegal immigrants are just sort of ushered in and treated with given the same priorities and benefits as citizens without having gone through that process. It's a hard process to go through, right, to become a citizen. And people who want to be Americans should go through that process. You can't have open borders and a welfare state without bankrupting the country.
Yeah, we're going to talk more about that because you just basically described the guy that's running for mayor in New York. But I agree with you. We've got to start shifting at least the spending priorities of the Biden administration and remove those with the spending priorities of the Trump administration. Like most people say, hey, we don't want to give as much money to foreign wars. We'd rather give it to the border. I think MAGA agrees with that. So I think there was a couple of big things in order to maintain the majority over in Congress. They had to get that funding for the border. They have to get that funding for the deportation, and they had to keep people's tax rates down. I mean, Democrats are literally running on, we're going to raise your taxes.
Right.
And Republicans are doing everything they can to keep them the same or lower them. But do you agree with that? That if these two major things had not passed right away, the Republicans have their necks on the chopping block?
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. And also, you're ceding control to Democrats who have the minority, and they would never cede control to Republicans for that. You have a situation where a lot of Republicans are really, really principled about the things that they stand for, where Democrats will come together and they'll be like, screw what I stand for. I'm going to go with my team and make sure we get all of the things that, we wanted. It doesn't matter what I believe in specifically. So you have this collective mindset on the left that is not something that Republicans are typically doing. And I think sometimes you have to go with the collective to get things across, because it's not like your priorities are going to get through without teaming up with your colleagues. They're just going to be there. So do you want to have power, or do you want to be right? I don't know. In my own personal, I would rather be right than have power, but I'm not a politician, and there's good reasons for that.
Yeah, I'm not either. I don't think I would be cut out for it. I mean, I would do my very best, but yeah, I mean, I guess the people that are being primaried, there's Massey and Tom Tillis, and there's actually a couple of others, but at least they've just been standing by what they believe is right. And maybe they've realized or haven't realized that at some point you have to go, okay, I got these 8 things, but I had to lose on these 2 to get it through. And I hate that, you can't put together a perfect bill, but until Congress is willing to do small, beautiful bills, we're stuck with this big, beautiful bill concept. And there's going to be poison pills and pork, as you mentioned earlier. So anyway, I believe that this had to get passed. Like you said, if it didn't pass now, it wouldn't have passed in the future, because they're already talking about a dozen different ways to impeach Trump if they get back in. They're already looking for ways to undercut him, to go after his family. Like they've got their powder loaded in a dozen different guns. They're just waiting for permission to fire by being voted back in by the American people. Speaking of voting, what are your thoughts on this Zohran Mamdani? I mean, he's articulate. He seems clean cut. He's got a full head of hair, like all the things that politicians would want, but terrible policies, except if you are maybe disadvantaged, or you're, bought into the fact that all white people are evil, that they're hoarding all of the money. What are your thoughts on this Mamdani guy running for mayor in New York?
I think he's completely delusional, and I think that the people who voted for him are completely delusional as well, because while all of these policies, sound sort of nice on the surface, they are not actually good policies once you dig down underneath them. And you can look at each one of them on his party platform, which is, I think zohranmamdani.com/platform. I keep going back to it to check out exactly what he thinks the best plan is. He's got a plan for free city buses. Most of the people who voted for him are in the wealthier income brackets. They don't take the bus anyway. These are going to be mobile homeless shelters. We know that that's going to happen, right? Like we've seen that with the subway, because you can jump the turnstile and get on there and not pay and just ride the subway forever and ever. So that's already been a problem. He's got plans for community policing. He wants to say that, what we need on subways are mental health professionals, not cops. But we know from Rudy Giuliani's term as mayor, 2 terms, and Michael Bloomberg's 3 terms as mayor, what you need on subways are cops. Cops are what prevent crime in New York City. I remember in 1994, after Giuliani came into office and I was in New York City, I was living in New York City, and it was overnight, right? It was overnight. Giuliani put a big mobile cop office, like NYPD unit, at the base of Washington Square Park, and crime went down right away. You could walk through the park without getting offered drugs. It was overnight. It was a shocking change. And after Bill de Blasio, Eric Adams was supposed to give us that kind of change in New York City. He was not able to do it. He has not been able to do it so far. He's been plagued with his own scandals. And also he had this massive immigration crisis, courtesy of Joe Biden, that really, gummed up the works of city government. And now if Mamdani comes in again, we're going to see an overnight change, but it's not going to be the kind of overnight change that is good for the city. The people who voted for him have this fantasy that a socialist utopia is possible. But we have seen the implementation of socialist utopias, Stephen. We've seen it in Maoist China and Leninist Russia. We've seen it in the Eastern Bloc countries, and we've seen it in Chile and Cuba. Socialism is, socialism harms nations, it harms people, and it's a real problem. People die. You can vote in socialism, but you can't vote it out. You have to shoot your way out. So I think he is an illusionist, and I hope that he's not elected, but I do think that he probably will get the votes.
Yeah. So they say socialism works until you run out of other people's money. There's, money is a limited resource. Like even government, they print willy-nilly, but at least there's a little bit of breaks on, printing us into 50 trillion overnight versus just a trillion every 100 days. But this guy, everything sounds really good. Free healthcare, free schooling, free childcare, free buses, city-run grocery stores that don't gouge you. Like it all sounds like somebody running for high school class president. But when they run out of other people's money, or the people that do have money go, screw this, I'm moving to West Virginia, I'm moving to Florida, I'm moving to Georgia, Utah, Texas. Like they're going to run out of other people's money because at some point people go, you can't tax me into prosperity. I'm moving.
Yeah,
right?
And hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers left New York City under COVID. And these were a lot of people who were well-to-do. And they took off. They went to Florida, as you said, and other places. And now I think Mamdani wants to tax the 1% of New Yorkers, the millionaires and billionaires. And there's like 345,000 millionaire, billionaire types in New York City. That's it. 345,000 of a population of like 8.5 million, because it went down after COVID. It used to be 9 million. Now it's 8.5. I'm one of those people that moved out, along with my son. So that's not a lot of people. Those people can leave for sure. They could, change their primary residence to somewhere else. It's not that hard to be a rich person and go literally anywhere else that you might want to go and visit New York whenever you want to go to the nightclubs, with Eric Adams, who's a nightclubs guy. So I think that Mamdani has a lot of things wrong. And I think it's also really important to note a couple of things. He went to very elite schools. He went to Bank Street, which is a very elite lower school in Manhattan. He went to Bronx Science, which is one of the top public schools in New York City. It's part of the 5 elite schools of New York City. And now he also has talked about how the entrance exams that he used to get into Bronx Science are racist and maybe should be eliminated. He's discussed that. And then he went to Bowdoin in Maine, which is a liberal arts, school. He started Students for Justice Palestine at his liberal arts school in Maine. He said that he got into politics because he wanted to fight for the Palestinian cause. That's a foreign situation. That is not only a foreign situation, it is an ancient situation. We are not an ancient nation. What does the conflict in Palestine, Israel, Gaza, whatever terms you want to call it, what does the conflict in the Middle East really have to do with New York and Americans? When I was, doing my own version, when I was like partying in New York, whatever, and you'd go to nightclubs, there'd be a bunch of rich kids from Tel Aviv and Israel and a bunch of rich Palestinian kids, and they'd all be hanging out together. It wasn't a big issue. New York City, the United States of America, that's where you go to become American and leave your ancient conflicts behind. We don't need that here. And that's why this man got into politics. He has wealthy parents. His dad is a professor of anti-colonialism at Columbia University. His mother is a, film producer and film director. She's like a Hollywood director. And this guy comes in there and says he's fighting for the working class. most of the people who make below $50,000 a year in New York City, they voted for Andrew Cuomo in the primary. They didn't vote for this guy because they know that what needs to happen in New York City, and I say this all the time, it's quality of life. Is my trash getting picked up? Are my streets safe? Can I take the subway at night? Can I take my kids to the park? There was a huge difference when I was in New York City after Bloomberg was out of office, after his third term. You had Bill de Blasio come in, and there was a huge shift just in the parks by my house in Brooklyn. I used to take my son to the parks all the time, and there were two parks, one nice one and one that was just sort of like, oh, look, it's right next door. And the one that was right next door was suddenly filled with tents. It was like a homeless encampment. We like walked a block in the opposite way to go around it, when we had to go places. We started avoiding that park entirely. And that's the kind of thing you'll see under Mamdani. And the working class people of New York City know that. This is a guy who wants to openly flout federal laws in terms of immigration. And like you were saying before, Trump is against this guy. And the other thing that I think is important to point out, not only does he come from an upper class situation and he wants to foist all this socialism down onto everybody else, but we now have a Democratic Party that is openly touting and boosting socialism. They used to be a little more quiet about it. They'd just talk about unions, they'd talk about labor. This guy came out there and said part of the end goal is to seize the means of production. That's Marxist-Leninist. That's directly out of those playbooks.
Yeah.
What are the circumstances in which we now have a Democratic Party that is openly opposing democracy in favor of socialist principles?
Yeah. Losing weight can feel like an uphill battle, especially with the American diet. From nasty seed oils that hurt us to high fructose corn syrup that actually makes us more hungry. Americans have wrecked their gut health. This is where ThermoTrim steps in as a smart, science-backed solution. This USA-made fat burner starts by restoring your gut health. ThermoTrim has a gut bacteria found in thinner people, but not heavier Americans. ThermoTrim helps restore that so you can lose weight. It supports digestion and curbs cravings naturally. Have you tried other products to lose weight and change your health? I have. ThermoTrim is what my body needed. Get ThermoTrim to improve your gut health and start losing weight today. Visit redlineremedies.com or snap the QR code. Make sure to use code Gardner to get an additional 20% off today. We all feel better when we lose weight, and I want you to live a long and happy life. It's just bizarre to me. Just like AOC, it's now coming out. Like, she wasn't raised in the Bronx. She was raised pretty wealthy and went to good schools. And these lies that they don't think people are going to figure out. This Mamdani, he's pretending like he's just some high IQ, articulate genius that rose in a third world country, when in reality he got the best of America. And now he is pretending like he's not. Let me switch gears with you. There's a new fight between Elon Musk and Trump. I thought this was behind us. I want to see these two work together. I think they collaborated to take back America. They collaborated to make freedom of speech free again. They worked together to bring home astronauts that Biden abandoned in space to die. Like, so many good things. But Elon is so irritated with the spending habits of America, the government specifically, that I find myself on that side. And yet at the same time, I'm a Trump guy. I feel a little bit torn. But what are your thoughts? He's now saying, I'm going to spend money to primary anybody that said they're for lowering the spending and then voted for the big, beautiful bill. Your thoughts on this new fight?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I don't like seeing these guys go at it. I think that's frustrating. They did team up, and I liked that team up. I thought it was very successful. Elon Musk has a point about the deficit and deficit spending and government and all of that stuff. Trump has a good point that we have to get all this stuff done. And, what are you going to do? You got to spend money to do that. So that's a tough situation. But I'm not on board with the purity test that Elon Musk is putting out there, where if you vote for, a bunch of stuff that's good for America, but you're not able to, do a couple other things that's good for America, he's going to try and get you out. And I also don't like these kinds of threats, right? These kinds of threats with money. And you have Thomas Massey, he's always going out there talking about, he doesn't want all this money in politics. And now he's like, yay, Elon Musk is backing me with all his money. So when you get down to it, that's a thing too, like, where is your purity test starting and where is it ending? How many questions are on it? And, who's administering it? These are all the things. But yeah, who wouldn't want to have less deficit? I'd be happy with less deficit, but also I'd be more happy with secure borders and implementing those things. I want to see more American jobs coming back home. I want to see, more manufacturing for sure in the United States. I want to be able to, when we at the Post Millennial want to make some merch, I want it to be really easy to go out there and source American made products by American workers. And I want it to be reasonably priced. I want to see that, I want to see that. And that's more important to me than all the deficit stuff.
Yeah.
Because if we make more money too, then our deficit will be in better shape. Maybe. I'm no economist, so.
Yeah, well, no, you make a really good point. I didn't think of it as this is a purity test of like, can you do all of these things where Trump, I think, realizes, hey, when I'm running Trump Corporation, I've got to live within all of these rules. But when I come into the government, I have to play the game. And right now, the game is I got to get a bill passed. I'm running out of time. I've got all of these influences against me. He doesn't have the same pressure that Musk has. At the same time, I hate that we went from we got to protect our geniuses to I might deport this guy. And Doge was the best thing that happened in a long time to we might use Doge against Elon Musk's companies. I hate that it's come to that. But at the same time, I do see it feels more like it's Musk trying to make digs at Trump and Trump trying to defend himself. I don't know. It really bothers me, these big public fights with two people that I respect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you on that. And yeah, I mean, and also saying like, maybe Doge needs to audit Musk's companies. That's exactly what the Democrats were saying in the first place. Like, oh, you're getting this guy in, but look at all the government contracts that he has going on. Maybe we should take a closer look at those. And I think one thing too to remember about Elon Musk's SpaceX is it would not exist were it not for NASA, right? We are the only country in the world that has entrepreneurs creating companies for private space travel and space exploration. And that is actually so cool that we have that. And it's because of all the public money we put into NASA. And we spend a lot of money on NASA. And I want to see more stuff like that. So if that means blowing up the deficit a little more, it's actually for the betterment of the United States in the long run.
Yeah, and I get the feeling that, as you mentioned earlier in the show, I think President Trump knows he needs to get some stuff done right now in year one while he has momentum. And then I do believe, because he talked about lowering the deficit, balancing the budget, and even U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has said, listen, the plan is still to do all of these things, but we've got to get these other things in order. And I understand money and we've got a lot of things. I mean, think about this. The Federal Reserve Bank that is chaired by Jerome Powell is refusing to lower interest rates. That's costing the US government $400 billion. So about 4 times as much as Elon Musk's Doge found. So yes, I believe in Doge. I still want them to Doge the heck out of the government. Like I would love to continue to expose the fraud and corruption. Makes for a really great YouTube channel, right? But at the same time, if you've got the Federal Reserve Bank, which isn't even a government agency, it's a private banking, if they are refusing to lower rates when inflation from Biden is definitely behind us and it's costing $400 billion, it's like, how much Doge do we have to Doge to just try to make up for him just having bad policies because he doesn't like Donald Trump? I mean, at this point, it kind of feels political, but there's a lot of things that I think Trump and Bessent and Marco Rubio and others, Pete Hegseth, I believe they're still working on, but it is going to take some time. Let me shift with you because I know we're limited on time here. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Congresswoman, she put forward this idea to President Trump. They had a private phone call where she briefed him and said, if we redo the U.S. Census, the national census, and we only count American citizens, Republicans immediately pick up 20 to 25 seats. Like, this is a red conservative country, and it's been hidden from the American public because of the way the Democrats and the Republicans of the past put the census together. Now President Trump is saying, yes, I back this. This is the next thing with the big, beautiful bill passing. What are your thoughts on this? To me, this seems like a 100-year game changer.
Yeah, I'm on board. I've been thinking this for a long time myself. How many Americans are in the country versus how many immigrants are in the country? I think that we deserve to know that number. And that, of course, the voting population is what our elections should be based on, as opposed to just the number of people who are, have taken up residence. I think that's a really good question. This is something Charlie Kirk was talking about as well. And I do think that it would be a big game changer. And I think that Americans might be surprised by how much of a game changer it is, because what you have is a situation where big blue cities are really overrepresented in Congress because they have so many immigrants and illegal immigrants. And that's what the census takes into account. Even if we did I know that you have the Democrats coming out being like, oh, well, no one will want to be counted if it has citizenship on it. But so what? Like, we need to know. These are important questions.
Yeah, I agree. I think this could be a game changer. Okay, so now going back to Elon Musk. Again, I want to interview this guy. I'd like to meet him in many ways. He's got 9 things I want and 1 I don't. So like even his life matches the big beautiful bill in my mind. But one of the things that he correctly pointed out was, it doesn't matter who becomes president. It doesn't matter that China was trying to influence the election with fake IDs and fake ballots pre-filled out. Like, all of that is important. But what he correctly pointed out was they were trying to make the swing states never swingable by just importing hundreds of thousands, millions of illegal immigrants into areas where they would flip more congressional seats for Democrats, which means more money for Democrat values, more representation for Democrat values. So this census, Elon Musk should be all over this. Donald Trump is already all over this. I would love to see them come back. But again, I just think this changes the country in such a positive way by getting that money into conservative values, God, family, faith, fear of, the government becoming too big. Like, I just think this is a huge thing that I hope will move forward.
Yeah, I agree with you. I hope that it moves forward as well. I don't know that it would necessarily, like, absolutely zero Democrats, not even Fetterman, would get on board with something like this. So it would really take every Republican in the House and Senate to make that happen. But I do think it's worthwhile. And you're right, because under the Biden administration, what they were doing was importing illegal immigrants and then shipping them off to the interior of the country, not even telling the localities and municipalities that there were going to be all of these incoming people. They just landed there overnight, and places just were forced to deal with it. And that's, they were intentionally trying to remake the composition of the country. I don't think there's any doubt of that.
Yeah, I agree. Democrats, they confuse me. Let me just bring up this final point with you, and I appreciate you coming on. Over on Post Millennial, where you are running things, national pride among Democrats tanks. Only 36% of Democrats are proud to be an American, where 92% of Republicans are proud to be an American. Why the shift? Is it because they have so many people from other countries? Is it because they hate the value of hard work and the American dream? They just want the government to handle everything. I don't know why. That's a huge disparity, 36 to 92.
Well, I think a lot of this has to do with our educational system from grade school right through graduate schools teaching us to hate our country. You go into a teaching program even, and you hear about how schools aren't doing enough to teach about slavery, and you have Jamal Bowman going out on CNN talking about how America needs to deal with its original sin of racism and anti-LGBTQ, which I don't think George Washington cared about at all because it wasn't even a thing. But, I digress. You have a lot of Democrats go out and say that America has not lived up to its values, that it has not lived up to the Constitution, and that it is problematic and racist and sexist and homophobic and transphobic and Islamophobic and pick your phobia of things. And so that's what they think of our country. They think that we are failing to meet our expectations. And the thing is that, yes, we are Americans. We love our country. We have very high expectations for this nation. We have, really strong values about hard work, about, I was thinking about the American dream the other day, and I was thinking maybe the American dream is the promise of a good quality of life at every income point, with the opportunity for advancement, with the opportunity for social mobility. And these are things that Democrats don't believe in. They don't believe in social mobility. You can tell because they want to dismantle the ownership class. That's part of their socialist takeover mindset. So they think that because we have not achieved our expectations and met our highest standards, we have failed. What they forget is that no other nation has these expectations or these standards. We are not a nation of strugglers. We are a nation of strivers. And that's why we can have these expectations for ourselves, because we know that we can work hard and we can meet them. And if you look at quality of life in other nations, you'll see that perhaps there's more evenness, perhaps there's more equity. But where in this nation, where in this world, other than this nation, can you start as nothing and work your way up to the top of everything? That is something that Americans can do. And that is something that Americans look to with pride. That is something that we all strive for that. Any child born in this country can become president. Any single child born in this country. If you work hard and that is our dream. Does it always work out? No, but that is our dream, and we stick to it and we fight for it. Nowhere else is like that. And so Democrats see it and they say, oh, well, it doesn't work for everybody, so it must be trash. No, that's not how it is. And even if you are, not able to achieve that, there's going to be something for you. That's the promise of Trump, right? Bringing jobs back home. There's going to be a job for you. This is the promise. You're going to be able to have a family and raise that family. And maybe your child will become president. That's the promise. And Democrats think that because it doesn't always work out, that means it's a failure. But in fact, the existence of the promise and the existence of those expectations are an indicator of the greatness of this nation.
Yeah. I thought it was weird, though. I think you make a great point about education. I also think, there is propaganda that's being put, when the New York Times starts saying, is the Constitution outdated and racist? Is it actually a weapon against the American people? Is the American flag a symbol of racism? And that's why Donald Trump used the American flag so much. It's like, no, almost 80 million people voted for him that love the flag, that take pride in our country. 92% of Republicans are proud to be an American. Like, he leaned into what, the tribe that he wanted, which is American exceptionalism. And so it's just kind of been a strange thing to cover in journalism, is just like people that don't want to move out of America, but they just want to badmouth it, say that it's such a horrible place. It really is a land of opportunity. I mean, otherwise, why would 20 million people or 15 million people risk their life to get into this country when Joe Biden said, hey, do not come to America.
Right.
Do not come. Yes, there's free cell phones and free healthcare and free hotels, and you'll have a job and we'll work with you, but do not come. Do not come for those free handouts. Like, there's a reason that people come to America. Like, nobody's like, oh man, if I could just get into Ukraine, my life would be better. Like, I think I'm in that 92%. I'm proud to be an American. I love my country. I don't trust my government, but I love my country. That's how I sit with it. So anyway, just so interesting to see the shift over the last few years. Libby, you guys are doing an amazing job. You cover some of the biggest stories. I love using you guys as a reference for my podcast and show. If people want to follow what you do professionally and then follow you online, where can I point them towards?
Well, you can follow me on Twitter at Libby Emmons. I'd love if you subscribe to my newsletter, which I write up every morning and send out to everybody, which you can do at thepostmillennial.com/Libby. You can check out all the work we're doing at thepostmillennial.com and humanevents.com.
Okay, I'll put those direct links down below. Thank you for taking time out of your day to come on the show. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks so much, Stephen.